Hello and welcome. I'm Jessie CHAHAL. You're watching The Nation. Well, joining me today is SHEILA KANAVALA, Director of Business Development at Charlton Martin Group. SHEILA, thanks for being here with us. We're talking about something that affects not just you, me, but many, many women who are sort of in between corporate or workforce and then trying to juggle motherhood and the very many other hats that women have to wear. Some women step away from the workforce, perhaps because they have the choice, they have the option, but many others because a life demands it. But returning to work can be harder than just deciding to leave. In Malaysia, female labour force participation is around 55%, meaning nearly half of working age women are not in any formal employment at any given time. Where does that leave us as a community and as the larger society? And as we know, women make up half the sky. But SHEILA, you've lived this. What has been harder, making that decision to leave upon having a child so that you could attend to family duties, or deciding that you would wrap that up and then come back to work with the corporate hat? Walk us through.
Okay, I think it's actually both, because when I left, I was at my peak. I love what I do, and the choice was, do I still continue working? And we're expecting a baby, what do I do? So I thought, best way moving forward, I want to take care of my daughter. I don't want to leave her with a maid and then having to worry whether she's eaten, because babies can't talk, right? And mothers, naturally, we will be worried for our kids. So I thought the best way, tender my resignation and be a full-time mom. And let's experience that. But I must say, I was quite lucky, because in terms of finance, we were doing all right. So I had the opportunity to make that choice. When you asked me earlier, coming back, was it hard as well? Yes, it was equally hard. It was similar to the first decision I had to make, because during that time I welcomed my son, a second child. So he was only about 8 months old. So again, that worry. But I thought to myself, why not? Opportunities don't knock twice, right? So why don't I take the offer to return back to work and just juggle things as they move along? So
that time in between of being at your peak or at being at one's peak, and then deciding or having to make that decision to leave, and then having a short quote-unquote break, because it's never a break anyway when you're caring for a little one, and then the family and all the other responsibilities that come with it, but then also in the meantime taking care of one's own mental health and your own well-being. But then to come back, or to say I can assimilate back into work. Some take up to 6-12 months, others maybe take a couple of years, like yourself. So upon that decision of coming back in, even that requires a change of mindset, renewed self-esteem. You've got to not second-guess yourself. There's a lot that goes on into making what I'd like to call really an executive decision.
yes, coming back, I really had to thought through, because it's not just my decision alone. The decision I make will affect the family, affect my husband. So when I decided to come back, I said, I'm coming back to a firm that I've worked before. Okay, it's an opportunity to come back. Opportunities don't knock twice, and juggling around it. But like I've shared with some of my contacts before, there's always that fear. Do I still have the magic? But we must remember that career is never a pause. You know, you never put on hold your skills. But when you come back, of course, there's this silent pressure that you have to prove yourself all over again. You know, do I still have the magic? Do I still have what it takes? You got to pick up where technology left. So when I came back, it's picking up Microsoft Office skills again, your public speaking skills again. And when I came back, a lot of my colleagues are new. So there's only a handful who have worked with me. So of course they have that question behind their head, and oh, is she really that good as boss said
mentioned
before?
Yeah.
So,
and also the other thing is, when you come back to work version 2.0 or 3.0, you now walk through those doors, having to know at 5 or 6 p.m. you got to check out of there because now you've got to then change your hat and attend to children and family and so on and so forth. But some women manage to do it all. I guess the question is, can we have it all? What is within the system that is not working towards women's advantage or working for women at this point of time, SHEILA?
I think moving forward, a lot of companies do not realize that, being flexible is very important. Having that flexibility of working from home. If your child is sick, you need to take time off, but then at the same time, you can still work from home. So I think a lot of organizations need to recognize that, okay? And then number two, it's also about when women come back, how is the support there for them within the organization? Are colleagues willing to step in? Or is it just this person's responsibility and I don't get involved at all? So I think the whole ecosystem, the whole support has to work from office to even your spouse, that has to work well together.
And support, I think, is at the center of encouraging and motivating women who have made that decision to take a break, to want to come back into the ecosystem of work in that sense. What do you wish someone had told you before you made that decision to take that break, or to, I won't use the word quit in its true essence of the word, but at some point when one is presented with a life situation like that, you do need
yes, I wish somebody has told me that it's okay not to be okay. There has been times I wanted to throw the towels because there was a situation, both my kids were sick, one after another, from hand, foot, mouth disease to chicken pox. And then you have that big worry that, okay, I've got these responsibilities at work, but at the same time, my children need me. And it's okay not to be okay. And it's also very satisfying to know that if your boss appreciates that kind of issues that you face and steps in to help out by giving you the support, that really calms down a lot.
But it does take a lot of guts. It does take a lot of bravado. It does take one to be confident in herself, to have that conversation with her superior, and sometimes even female superiors can add on to that pressure, right?
Yes, that's right.
So there is that scenario as well.
So I'll speak from my own personal experience. Like right now, I have a team of colleagues who work with me, and for the past 7 years, I've made things work. So when I have colleagues who have similar issues, I sometimes do that as well, and I catch myself doing it, and I have to stop. I say, not everybody has that same way of handling their issues. So sometimes it's about having that empathy. A lot of organizations talk about having empathy and support, but very few operationalize it.
So what happens at that point when everyone doesn't have the same bandwidth, but work is due, deadlines are there are more and more things that need to be done, then vis-a-vis in one's personal life as well? So balancing this professional and personal life, I come to this question, is work-life balance even a thing for women?
I think it's a very nice to have. Okay, but at the end of the day, it still comes to your own individual. How badly do you want to make it work? And as a leader in my organization, I have colleagues who work with me. I ask myself, how can I help them to be better at what they do? Because if I show them the support, they will actually overcome the issues, and they can actually give it out to their other colleagues as well. So I think that support is very important. But I'm very lucky to say that because I'm somebody who's very decisive and I know what I want, so I always have, so to speak, like a formula to make things work. And like what you said earlier, it takes a lot of guts to go up to your boss and say that I need to speak to you, these are the issues I'm having, but I'm willing to work around it. And that's that individual. But if you come to another person who's like a junior exec, like an admin assistant, not many of them will come up to talk to you. So as a leader, you must be able to read the room, what's going on, read your staff, what issues are they going through. If you see somebody who's always smiling, but on that particular day, they're not smiling, go and speak to them, because they're just very afraid to come and speak to their senior staff.
I just have to add on to that. That feels very much like a trait of a woman leader. That sense of looking out for others, wanting to nurture others as well. And there are some fantastic male leaders out there as well. Not making a gender, a disparity call here. But you talked about a formula. So I'd like to know, what is that formula? Perhaps you could share with us.
That formula is very simple. Every day when I get into the office, I still practice this old school way of writing down what I want to do for the day. And as the day moves along, I'll just tick what I've accomplished. And as what you shared before, we wear so many hats, Sometimes the moment we knock off, like 5:30, I have to get out of the office in order to pick my kids. 5:30, the moment I get into my car, is thinking about dinner. What's going to be dinner? And are we going to eat out? Are we going to tap out home to eat? So all these things are playing in my head as I'm driving. And then the moment I get home, when the kids have settled, it's, okay, what's in the pantry? Do we have enough for the week? So there are many hats to play. So not only the professional, like when we're in the office, we're not just doing our job. We are also in the office as elite. How do we set the tone in the office? That's all very important, because in the office we have the male and the female, the married and the single, the Gen Zs and the Gen X. So
True.
all these are balanced. So all these things are constant hats that we have to wear. So I would say it's tiring as well.
You have to be adaptable, at the same time decisive, at the same time quick towards taking action and making decisions.
There is no right best decision, but whatever comes up at that time. And it's always tweaking what works, what doesn't work. And I think that's the fun part of juggling both professional and home.
I like the way you use the word fun. I would put it in quote unquote, i.e. quite tiring, but it has to be done. Now, re-entering the corporate role is one thing, Sheila, but for many women in retail administration, roles like in healthcare and support, and those in manufacturing or even in the gig economy, the pressures are often about financial, ability, or to keep that financial support going, or that income going. Is re-entering the workforce fundamentally different for people who are at that level of jobs? For those who are in non-corporate roles, the challenge then obviously becomes not just about confidence and about wanting to get back to a job that pays better, but it is about fundamentals like childcare and time management.
I would say that for the workforce at this level, where it's the gig and the factory workers, like you mentioned just now, a lot of it is finance. They just do not have the luxury to get a better daycare. Sometimes they just need the money to run the family. So I would say that some of the support that we have in the industry, that the government initiatives, I would say right now what I experience is centered to the middle executives or the higher roles. But what about this sector? We are actually forgetting them, because when they do not have the support, but they still need the money, where do the children go? What daycare can they be attached to? And at the same time, money is always a concern for this level.
What would a truly inclusive return strategy look like for all segments of women?
I think very important is to have a two-pronged effect. One is to incentive the career returnees. Number two is to incentive the companies who are hiring career returnees as well. I think these both have to work, because if you're only giving the incentives to the firms, and then what about the career returnees?
Right.
What do they have to look forward? A lot of women, or rather people who give up their careers to care for family, whether it's for children or aging parents, some of them, they will think, is it enough for me to go back, to cover the daycare, to cover the childcare? Is it enough? So that's the question. And some would choose that, okay, if it's for only another 1,000 extra, maybe I'll choose not to.
What do you think is the biggest myth organizations, corporations, bosses are not seeing or understanding about women getting back to work?
I think a lot of them misunderstand whether, is she ready?
Does she still have what it takes?
Capable? Yeah. And when I went back to work, I personally experienced that. It didn't come from my boss, of course, because he hired me back. But I have colleagues who probably at the back of their mind, they will be thinking, you know, does she have what it takes? She's been away for 4.5 years. And it's not about whether they still have the capability. I think a lot of women, when they leave their work, they actually have a lot more duties outside, you know, at home. They're actually handling home economics, they're handling negotiations, you know, and they're handling about how to have the family work. And these are skills that you do not read from the textbook or watch on the TV. These are things that you do on a daily basis.
We often hear about, you know, we've had long discussions even here on the program about brain drain, losing our talent to other countries. But one of our biggest economic leaks is actually what is known as the maternal drain, when we're losing talented women or women which is within the workforce opting out or having sometimes no choice. That's happening in our very own backyard. I started the program by sharing that in Malaysia the female labour participation is around 55%. But Sheila, that participation rate has been stagnant now for years. Is this opt-out really a choice then, or is it sort of can we call it a silent protest against a workplace culture and even a family quote-unquote tradition that refuses to adapt to the reality of the modern Malaysian woman?
Yeah. What we face now is actually a lot of us are still very traditional in our way of thinking. When women return back to work, there's this traditional role, taking care of the kids, taking care of the meals. These are the traditional roles that's still expected of women. Not many men or the fathers actually step up, but I must say, my husband and I, we have sort of an agreement, because
that's a whole nother program on its own.
And we have an arrangement in a way that if I come back to work, these are the responsibilities that you got to take on. You know, because we are now both earners. We have that same sort. We need to have the same sort of responsibilities as well. So, like, what works for me is my husband's taking care of the children's education, making sure they do their homework. So I'm making sure that they are well fed and they have all the support that they need. So I think a lot of times we have to have the family that supports us as well. And when I say this, like, not everyone has the luxury of living with parents where the parents can still take care of the kids, you know, like we are just relying on paid help. So I've been very thankful I managed to find a paid help. She's been with us for almost 8 years now, and I don't have to worry. And sometimes when I work late, I know that my husband's home with the kids and my helper's there to take care of the other things.
We spoke of a formula in trying to navigate and balance all of this, but it's also appearing to be more of a math problem at this point of time, because it does involve financials, the amount of income you have versus the amount that is outgoing for expenditure and other expenses in running a family, but also then as a corporate woman or a working woman. What factor is in childcare, do you think, that really that can be improvised, or what can we change about the structure of childcare so that that becomes less of a pain point for women?
Well, I'll speak from my own experience. When I took the offer to return back, I had to do the math to see whether it's worth coming back. All right. Fast forward, what I have also experienced that it's very difficult to find transit care for children. So it's not easily available. And right now, in the budget, I think the government has announced that there's tax relief for childcare up to 12 years old. But for families with children who are 13, 14, 15, 16, what happens?
Right.
You know, you don't want your 13-year-old to be alone at home. You know, you still need to send them to a transit care. So I think what's missing is this gap. Why stop at 12? Because again, with the brain drain you mentioned earlier, a lot of women give up their career to care for the family. But then when they want to return, they have to think about, okay, what are the other expenses that comes along with it?
From a HR perspective or from a hiring perspective, what has been your experience with this when an HR manager views the 2-year gap on your resume and they view it as a red flag, or they have very many concerns or doubts as to why you needed to take a break? Now, I find that sometimes quite hard to navigate. How was that for you?
I would actually urge HR professionals to actually look at what were these mothers or these professionals were doing during their break. I recently had an interview, a few interview sessions because there were vacancies. So I interviewed the lady who had various breaks. So instead of having a judgment of, oh, okay, she's not good enough, her experience is not good, I actually asked questions. You know, what were you doing during these breaks? But we must remember, when women are not working, they're actually doing something else. Managing a family is a skill, you know, and those skills, you can bring it back to the office because you're also managing an office. Like my admin assistant, she actually manages the pantries, that we have supplies, that we have stationaries, she's negotiating. So all these skills, that's what she does as a mother. And she can actually bring this back to work, and she helps us to cut down the costs, scale down the costs. And because already being a mother, she can actually foresee, okay, these are the problems that's going to come
Anticipating.
up. Let's put a stop to it before
Right.
it becomes a bigger problem.
Becomes a tantrum, quote
Exactly.
unquote, right?
Yes.
You know, when a man takes a break, sometimes he's often seen as adventurous, but then when a woman does it, she is deemed to be out of touch, and that is perhaps an unfortunately you know, a general misunderstanding of the roles that both men and women play in the bigger dynamic of things. How do we kill that double standard? Very quickly, Sheila, we're running out of time as well. And what do you think is the biggest barrier at this point of time for a woman to walk back into work happily with a smile and confidence? Do we need more strategies and structure in place to support her? Or is it just a lack of imagination from corporates and organizations at the C-suite level?
Okay, I think things are a little bit different now. It's a little bit easier, but I think a lot more can be done. So what's easier now is we have a lot of technology. We have so many tools online that we can learn, like Canva, ChatGPT. It's learning these tools to make your job faster, okay? Things that you can be done in 5 hours as opposed to 10 hours. Use those tools to get your job done faster. And because mothers, when they come back, they know how to juggle. They know how to manage, they know how to negotiate. I think what's missing and what can be done better is allow flexibility. I think recently we've heard of this traffic jam during the Chinese New Year period. Sometimes whatever that takes 20 minutes, you're taking 2 hours to reach. So for positions that can work from home, allow such leeway, such opportunity for people to work from home. And if there is such flexibility, it makes things a lot easier, because when you come to the office already tired from the traffic jam, how can you be effective? You can't.
Yep, and then that's only your second half of the day. Then you've got the balanced third or rather the last part of your day or last third of your day, where you just take time out for yourself to, you know, realign and be in touch with what's going on, and like, for example, in the world and in the news, and just taking your me time. So you know, we are discussing how women have to wear many hats today, and we truly understand the challenges out there. And this is, you know, as urging all stakeholders in this situation to be a little bit more flexible, to be a little bit more understanding with that lens that, you know, that the hand that rocks the cradle at the end of the day is the one that rules the world. Well, with that, and in conclusion, we are though seeing a massive wave of women returning to the workforce, but they're not just looking for clocking in and out at this point of time. They are demanding for more flexibility and real inclusion. The support systems are finally catching up. We do see those, but the results will speak for themselves at the end of the day. I'm Jessie CHAHAL. That's our outlook and our conversation today on shaping the world and the nation. We'll see you next time for more conversations that matter. Bye-bye.